Hi there, this is Sue from Miller's Laboratory, and I've been working really hard in the laboratory lately, and I have 5 more little junk journals that I have listed on Etsy, and I just wanted to do a quick flip through so you could see the insides of these. These are all these tiny little books. They're only about 4 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then about an inch thick, and they all started out as these little chipboard albums for photos. So I have covered these with fabric and then put other pages inside, but these little photo sleeves that came with them, I will include those. If you make the purchase, I will include these in case you want to turn your book back into a photo album or just add a couple of photos in. I'll just show you quickly what the covers look like. This one has some red and white check fabric on the front and back, and then this is the fabric that's on the spine. The spine fabrics are all little quilt pieces, little vintage ones that I cut up and used, and I think they're very charming. So this one is number 4. This one has some sort of pink flowery sort of pattern, and then the quilt is this green and white polka dot. It looks like maybe it was a log cabin style. This one is number 3. This one is number 1. It's got this red floral fabric, and then the quilt patterns are kind of pink and reds and a little bit of blue. This one has this is number 2, and it's got this blue and yellow floral fabric on the cover, and then the spine has this sort of crazy quilt fabric. And then the last one I'm going to show you here is number 5. This has this sort of light blue or aqua colored fabric, and then another kind of crazy quilt sort of spine. Since this is the last one here, I'll flip through this one. These all have eyelets, 2 eyelets in the back that I have threaded through just a strip of fabric. You could easily remove that and put in an elastic or another type of tie if you wanted to. But these just tie with a bow. Oh, I forgot to show you the little dangle here. Each one has a little dangle with a digital milk cap that I printed, a little bell that looks like a cow bell. There's a couple of mother of pearl, vintage mother of pearl buttons on here, and then they all have one of these little charms that says made with love, and of course the bingo number that numbers the book. Inside the book, it is lined with paper, all different papers, and I've put a little label here. This was a digital that I printed out, but it's a chicken label with name and address on there. You can use that as your book plate. This is a page from an old address book with a tab on it, and I have created a little cluster tuck here. These are this is a digital cigarette card I printed out, and then some little pieces from a vintage gardening book, a little piece of an old doily, and an old button. And tucked in there I had just a couple of digital tickets that I printed from a fair, and a digital chicken little card, which is pretty cute. So the theme of these books is a farm wife, and when I was putting these together, I thought about all of the things that a farm wife would do kind of in mid-century, I guess. She would take care of the home, the children, do all of the food and the food preserving, the gardening, vegetables and flowers, and all of the sewing, taking care of the clothing and any needlework that she might do. And then she would also help with all of the farm chores, really wherever she was needed, but probably have some animals that she took care of, like the chickens. And then I also imagined that she might keep some bees. And so you'll see elements of all of those things in these books. On this side, the other side of that address book page, I just clipped a couple of pieces of vintage wrapping paper that I got. I thought they were so cute. And then on the next page, I've got here a couple of pages from a book about keeping bees, an old book. And it talks about honey and different sources of honey. This next page is just from a book where you could keep your recipes. And I liked this because it's lined, of course, so you can do journaling on that. That's reinforced with some washi tape. This next page is a digital wallpaper that I printed out. I have a few different ones in here. I really like the looks of those. And I've just clipped on a little photo here of a little boy standing on a ladder in an orchard. I love this little image, and so you'll find this image in all 5 of the books. I put a couple of hymn pages in each book. And I put little tabs on them there. And then here is just a double layered notebook paper that I've stitched around, and I put a little tab there so that you can pull it down. Lots of space to do writing there. And then I have a booklet of old vintage labels, and that's where this came from. Next, I have a page from an old yearbook from, I think, probably the late 40s or early 50s. And I love this little book because it has all these little captions for each of the students. This one, Hope Christensen, there's a twinkle in her eye. The ladies' football hero. I thought it would be fun to kind of look at these, and you could decide maybe which one of these women became the farm wife of your book. And maybe which one she married too. Okay. This is from a digital of a can label for peas, sweet wrinkled peas. Just a really sweet little image on there. So I made this into a pocket, put a little flower on there, and then I tucked a few little goodies inside. This is just another piece from that vintage gardening book. It's some gardening definitions. It's just card that I cut into a strip. This is another strip of some vintage looking kitchen utensils on both sides, and I just put that little bead dangle on there to decorate that. And then this is a cutout from a calendar that I have with farm images on it. I backed it with some coffee dyed paper, and that makes a nice little journaling card for you. It's a little vintage rickrack on the top there too. This next page is just a piece from a book of Psalms that's coffee dyed. And then I have here a recipe card, just a blank one, but it's also coffee dyed. Another one of those vintage labels from my book there, and then some rickrack on the edge. On the back of that, there is just something from an old cookbook. And then this is just from a little memo pad, but I thought it was very country looking with the basket with the raspberries. Good journaling spot there too. The next page is a pocket page. It's actually made from a book page I'll show you on the back, but most of it is covered up. You don't see a lot of it. I had these stickers that look like old perfume or soap labels, and I thought that would be something that might look nice in here. And inside this pocket I have a couple of goodies for you. This is a sticker actually, but it looks like a coupon for a pattern. This is just a little printed out label of birds. And then this is a genuine vintage button card with a button or two left on the card. On the back of this, I just glued in a little flip out. This is just a sign, again a digital, this isn't an original thing, but a printout of maybe a sign at a fair for buying tickets. This next page was a receipt. This is also just recreated. It's not original. And on top of that, I created some butter paper. It's not real, but it looks like butter paper. And I just glued that on there too. On the back of that, there's just this vintage image. Again, a digital printout. Not original, but a cherry pie. Now I do have a couple of original things here that I think are pretty cool. A couple of pages here from a milkman's ledger book that I was able to get, and it tells what he sold, and it would just he would go through and check what each family was going to purchase. Milk, cream, special milk, buttermilk, cottage cheese, etc. Here's another piece of that wallpaper, and on this one I have clipped a little picture of a little boy with a calf. I use different pictures, but they're all of children with farm animals. Just a cute image here of a cow. And then this next page is a coffee dyed tag that I just folded up and made into a flip. Put a little one of those printed out milk caps on there. And then inside this one we have another little chicken card. And this is a page from a 1952 little diary or a little journal, little calendar. This is a page from a teacher's record book, again coffee dyed, and I cut out a couple of pictures from a vintage gardening book of flowers. And then this is a cross stitch, some sort of needlework pattern, coffee dyed also. Made a little tab with some trim on there. And then this one is reinforced with, this is an old piece of tape measure. Next page is from a book about sewing, talking about different hand stitching. And I just have attached a little piece of cherry fabric on there, and then also a little piece of cross-stitch fabric with a little safety pin. The next page is a vintage seed packet. This one is for squash. And I just attached that in and tore the end off to make it into a pocket. And inside this pocket, we have a couple things. This is a little page from a really small version of A Child's Garden of Verse. This is just a little tag that I made again from some of that printed out wallpaper with another little cluster there. And then this is a 4-H ribbon, probably about 50 years old. This is from the Northwestern Michigan Fair. Next page is from a recipe book, and I chose this particular page because it was like hors d'oeuvres or appetizers, and I thought our farm wife might be having company and want to make something fancy. And this has cold balls to serve, and some of them are like Braunschweiger balls, corned beef balls. They sound disgusting, but I thought it was really cute, and I love how I've made it. I like how I flipped it out like that so you can see the whole thing. Here's another page from that Milkman's Journal. And then this last is kind of a heavy sort of paper, kind of a handmade paper. So it's holding a lot of things. There's a picture here, a printout, not an original, of a farm. And then there's a little envelope here that's coffee dyed. Inside here, there is a printed picture of a little chick, a little newly hatched chick. And then printed out page from a ledger for keeping track of your egg sales. On the back of this page, I have made another little cluster with some trims, and tucked in this one is one of those chicken cards again. We'll print out of a goat. And then this is again page from that garden book. This is pretty fragile, but that's okay. I kind of like opening it up and looking at these crumbly things. You know, that's what ephemera is after all. So this has had a little chart about when and how to harvest. And then lastly, I just made a little flip on the inside of the back cover out of an index card with a tab on it. This is from another vintage gardening book with flowers. And then a vintage label up there. And then here we have my label, Miller's Laboratory, and my signature. So those are my little books that I just got posted. I hope you like these, and I hope you'll check out my Etsy shop and the other items that I have there. Thanks for visiting. Bye.